was going for the guillotine from the mount. So Nick ended up here, yeah, and his opponent's like, I'm so good at guillotines, well, it is what it is. So he might have had success with it before. He wasn't really quite as much with Nick. Sort of an annoying position. Nick's a little stuck. He doesn't get his points until his head is free. Annoying situation. What I'll generally want to do here is if we're going to set up an arm triangle, which isn't a bad option, I want to make sure I'm posted out. I'm not going to get rolled. There's nothing like getting bucked and rolled by like a guillotine from someone on bottom mount. It's just like, it doesn't get any meatier than that. So I want to get underneath Andrew's head and I'll post this arm way out. So I sink my weight a little bit more towards this side so that if he tries to buck me this way, my weight's more on this side, and if he tries to buck me this way, I have my post on this side. So I keep myself pretty well balanced. If I need to, I can counter with this foot out on this side. Whatever I want to do, last thing I want to do is get buck and roll. When someone's holding your head, whether it's from bottom side or bottom mount, they're often going for that. Now, let's say I can keep my hips nice and low. I'm going to drive my head up and into him. As soon as his grips break, I'll pin my ear to his ear. I can work this back step, lock my hands, and now I'll go in for my tap, and I'll finish my arm triangle. However, let's say, now in the match, Nick, you did have the arm triangle, but let's say hypothetically that some stuff went down, it wasn't perfectly tight, and you're in that position, but you're like, man, this is not going to finish right now. Because that happens. I've been in those spots where it's like every other human being I've ever rolled with would tap to this, but for some reason this guy is not. So I'm here with Andrew. Let's say he's one of those guys. I've got my arm triangle. I got it locked up. Jeez, it's not doing the job for me. So what am I going to do? I can do a little bit of a meaner variation of the arm triangle, where basically I start off here with my head to the mat. What I'm going to be doing now is I'll grab my own bicep. I'll put my arm over his forehead. I put my left knee on his hip. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to drive forward. So I'm basically going to try to bend his head backwards and drive all my weight underneath his jaw while I'm getting a good squeeze on his neck. And I'm using my left knee to kick off of him. So I'm extending his hip bone from his jaw. I'm getting like a little bit of a meaner variation. Lifting up. Turns into a little bit more of a crank. Again, kind of more of a self-defense-y type variation, but at the same time, if it's going to get the tap and you do it with control, it's a viable submission. It's a perfectly viable submission. So you don't have a perfectly snug, super nice arm triangle, well, you can always switch to the little bit meaner variation where you can drive forward, and again, you're looking to fold their head back, and I'm kicking off of the hip bone, extending and bending their head back. A little bit of a meaner spot, but again, the first one doesn't work, you got the second. Now, we'll talk about the spin behind. So Andrew's up on his knees. And we're here. And we're in a little bit of a position where Andrew's got this leg and like a single, and I'm trying to spin behind and get to his back. And luckily, Nick actually did get to the back for a little bit here. I make my spin and spin around. This comes here. What happened was, I believe, he passed this arm over to this side. So we're here. So now, when you're spinning over and through, we ended up more in the closed guard or in a guard type of a scenario. So a little nuance on that harness as I cut the corner. If I'm here with Andrew, he's got my leg. What I can do is I'll bring this arm right in front of the face. I'll bring this arm right under the arm, and I can lock palm to palm already, even if he still has my leg. So long as he's not on my ankle. If he's only on my knee, that's fine. I'll just kick this back, keeping my sternum between shoulder blades. I'll just kick this back and beat that leg, keeping my hip low. Circle, circle, get my hooks, and now so long as my harness is snug, now I'll tilt him to whatever side I want. My grips are set though. So he can't take jurisdiction over my arms and move him somewhere to start his escape already. I've already got the harness before my hooks even get there, which is an ideal type of a scenario. So that's a little nuance in that spin behind. Good stuff.